Tuesday's bout between vice presidential aspirants Tim Walz and J.D. Vance stayed up to their roots by mainly keeping things nice as they sparred over the profound disparities at the top of their respective tickets. Viewers expecting a brutal boxing match were instead treated to a Midwestern bromance. The vice presidential debate is normally not given much thought and is frequently an afterthought, but in light of former President Donald Trump's unwillingness to compete against Vice President Kamala Harris in another round, this discussion may be the last one that voters will weigh in the incredibly close 2024 presidential campaign. Even though moderators began by discussing growing global concerns and Hurricane Helene-related fatalities, the running mates didn't pursue each other too much and showed their passion when questioned about well-known campaign subjects. When questioned about whether family separation would be a possible policy should Trump win re-election, Vance in particular was fervently focused on the situation at the southern border of the United States. The senator from Ohio stated, "You have to stop the bleeding. You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies, build the wall, re-implement deportations." Similarly, Walz became enraged when the topic of reproductive rights and access to abortion arose, pointing out how women's health is at risk as a result of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. In addition to testing each other's personalities, Walz and Vance used the CBS News vice presidential debate as a platform to spar over the issues in an effort to support their potential employers. In an attempt to gain an advantage in what is becoming an increasingly noticeable gender disparity, both the Harris and Trump camps position themselves as average guys who uphold Midwest values. These are the salient points of the discussion on Tuesday. Tim and JD play good Midwesterners to each other throughout the hour-and-a-half debate. The two Midwestern dads made the most of their reputations for civility, using it to their advantage in front of a mostly uninformed audience. The two complimented one another at different times while making jokes about Trump or Harris. The two vice presidential candidates, both fathers, showed empathy for one another as concerned parents when the topic of gun violence and school shootings came up. Once again, Vance reminded the audience that Harris is the current vice president while praising her economic strategy and stating that it sounds pretty good, before criticizing the fact that she hasn't carried out those plans while in the White House. If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle-class problems, then she ought to do them now, not when asking for a promotion, he stated. This is especially crucial for Vance, who, according to surveys, was not as popular as his Democratic opponent heading into Tuesday's debate. Approximately half of registered voters have a somewhat or very unfavorable opinion of the Ohio senator, according to an Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research survey issued this month. This is in contrast to the nearly 3 in 10 voters who have a bad opinion of Walz. Knucklehead. Walz stumbles at Tiananmen Square due to nervousness. Walz made a rough debut on the nationally televised debate stage. During the first few minutes of the interview, the generally cheerful and affable image of an experienced politician was almost completely replaced by a grim and nervous newbie, the Democratic vice nominee. Throughout the initial part of the discussion, Walz struggled to respond to questions and neglected to identify himself by using his well-known public titles as a coach, parent, and former teacher. The usually affable man rarely discussed personal experiences, instead relying on statistics and boasting about his running mate's accomplishments. The 60-year-old governor has also come under fire for making false claims, including exaggerating portions of his prior military service record and responding poorly to conservative criticism about his handling of the 2020 riots following George Floyd's death at the hands of Minneapolis police. Walz was like a deer caught in headlights when it came to owning up to his latest mistake. When the moderators questioned Walz about his ongoing claim that he was present for the 1989 pro-democracy demonstrations in Tiananmen Square, he sidestepped the subject by labeling himself a knucklehead, and claiming he misspoke. Recent sources dispute that timing. "I get caught up in the rhetoric," he stated. Vance markets himself to the American public. Unlike Walz, who generally didn't talk about his history, Vance was ready with nuggets from a turbulent boyhood in Southwest Ohio that anchored his best-selling work, Hillbilly Elegy, about overcoming poverty and familial battles with addiction. The Ohio senator told the tale of a woman he knew who sought an abortion because she was in an abusive relationship and made reference to his mother's recovery from a substance addiction problem. He made repeated references to his working-class upbringing, which he expects would appeal to voters in Rust Belt areas that are crucial to winning in November. Along with acknowledging his prior criticism of Trump, Vance did so with the grace of someone who has been responding to such inquiries from the beginning of his Senate campaign in 2021. "When you screw up, When you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people, he stated. Walz promotes heartbreaking tales of abortion, while Vance takes a fresh tack. When the topic of abortion came up, Walz fervently engaged viewers through the screen by sharing first-hand accounts of women who have been negatively impacted by Roe v. Wade repeals and placing the blame on Trump's Supreme Court ruling. Donald Trump initiated all of this. He spoke of how wonderful it was to install the justices and overturn Roe. And he says, "Oh, send it to the states, it's a great thing," he added. Walz brought up two women who have come to symbolize the nation's reproductive rights debate. Hadley Duval, a Kentucky woman who became pregnant after her stepfather sexually assaulted her, and Amanda Zurovskia, a Texas woman who nearly died due to complications arising from her 18-week pregnancy. "Those are appalling," remarked Walz. Senator Vance said two wrongs don't make a right, there is not right in this. In an attempt to take a new tack, Vance attempted to portray the Republican ticket as more centrist than Democrats and other detractors have portrayed them, despite the anti-abortion side suffering 2 years in a row of electoral setbacks. He agreed that the GOP has a trust issue when it comes to abortion, particularly with women. The senator from Ohio claimed that despite his support for a minimum national standard, during his campaign for the Senate, he was not in favor of outlawing abortion nationwide. He related the tale of a very dear to me woman who informed him, a couple years ago, that she felt like her life would have been destroyed because she was in an abusive relationship if she hadn't had that abortion. However, he argued that the Trump team is accomplishing this by endorsing pro-family measures like assisted reproductive technologies and family-friendly financial assistance. Additionally, he supported Trump's assertion that state laws governing abortion should be respected. Trump commented online during the discussion, stating that he would not support a federal abortion ban, and that if elected to a second term, he would veto a national abortion ban. When Walz brought up the case of Amber Thurman, a woman from Georgia who took abortion drugs and died before receiving a treatment to remove embryonic tissue from her body, Vance responded, "I agree with you, Amber Thurman should still be alive. Pets not allowed. Immigration dispute ignores allegations of dog and cat eating." Viewers who witnessed the Harris-Trump debate a month ago were surprised that Vance did not assert, while standing on the debate platform, that Haitian migrants are consuming people's dogs. However, during their heated debate on border security, one of the most important topics in the presidential contest, both candidates brought up Springfield, Ohio. The city was dragged into the national immigration debate last month when Trump and Vance kept making baseless accusations about immigrants taking waterfowl and injuring pets. "I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point," Walz stated. "When it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.